spent a good 30 or so minutes down here trying to figure out how big it was, and it turned out to be pretty big, but also not that impressive. I found another couple of chests with some okay loot in them, but other than that and a couple of libraries, the structure wasn't much to rave about, so I eventually just had to make my way back home. Before I got started on the trading hall, I used some of my leftover blackstone to create an entrance to the nether compound, which I will likely extend and decorate eventually, because it just looks a little bit flat when I was finished. You see what I mean? Flat and a bit two-dimensional. I've been neglecting the villager trading hall for too long, in part because I started to loathe the sight of the nether after I had to search for days to get netherite for the end fight, but also just because I kind of got a bit lazy. What I'm going to do for these building clips is probably speed them up and add some music underneath. There might be a lot of that this episode because there's going to be a lot of building. I want to make the compound look fantastic. I'm aiming for about 50 episodes of this series before I move on to a new Minecraft world. So I really want to make some impressive builds, and in each world I want them to get better and better. So I grabbed my trusty golden helmet and jumped into the nether to grab more quartz, because I was going to need a lot of it. I took a shulker box with me as well so I could carry more and not have to make so many trips, but even with a couple of shulker boxes with me, it still took me several trips back and forth between the nether and home to actually get enough quartz for what I needed, and I did do a little bit of building off cam, just wooden planks. I did most of the grinding for the quartz off cam so you guys wouldn't have to endure me running backwards and forwards in Hunt. So I hope you guys enjoy this brief clip before we get you back to our villager trading hall goodness. I came back to record after I'd spent about 15 minutes trying to figure out what this new glitch was that made my Switch freeze every time I exited the Minecraft game, and why any company would roll out an update that would do this to us. As you can see from my brief run around, that the villager housing space is starting to come together, and we even have stairs now too. All that's left to do is to fill in the rest of the quartz. Getting all the quartz together was definitely the most draining part of this build, but now that I had it, it was a piece of cake to install it all, and there was absolutely no way. It was impossible. I wasn't going to run out right before I finished. Damn it. At one point I even put some lanterns up as well before I remembered the fun blue soul lanterns that would work far better with my nether theme, and went to put some of those up instead. This meant returning to the nether yet again to grab the soul dirt I needed. I killed some skeletons on the way just to let off some steam. I returned home with my bounty and finished getting the lighting set up. I didn't want mobs to be able to spawn inside, especially once my villagers were in. I also set some fire outside so that I could get rid of the torches and make it a bit more nether-esque. What do you think? Now that the hall itself was complete, I started crafting all the villager stations I would need, plus the beds required to get my current villagers breeding. The only thing I was really worried about here was the baby villagers either escaping or just having a nitwit. I've got loads of nitwits in my little village. I'd really like to have some actual functioning villagers. Please and thank you. My last challenge for this build was to get the villagers into their new home, which I naively thought would be fairly simple. I knocked down part of the wall between the village and the new hall and started throwing bread at these suckers. Hold on a second. Do you hear that? My audio! My audio is fixed! Finally! Turns out, despite Elgato's fanning around, all it needed was a bit of an update. Would have been nice if they'd just suggested that to me at the start. But oh well, it's fixed! Hooray! My villagers quickly started breeding, what with the 12 new beds to encourage them, but it was at night that my struggles began, and I realised that I had made a horrific mistake. You see, I thought I would be clever and use this as an opportunity to get rid of some of the nitwits in my village, and after my first success in the first night, I got a little bit cocky with it. What I failed to realise was that I hadn't properly blocked the hole the creeper had left, and it had left me with dire consequences on the next night. I also spent just a little bit of time replacing the wall with blackstone, which eventually I will do for the whole thing to make the cut-off between the normal compound and the nether compound a little bit more evident. As night rolled around, I tried to encourage as many of my new baby villagers into their new home as possible. However, some of them decided they wanted to live life on the edge and didn't want to acknowledge my efforts. What you will now see is an unedited, although sped up, video of what happened this fateful night of the massacre. Thank you everyone for joining me today again in the nest. I'm so pleased we finished the villager trading hall and gotten our villagers inside. I'm going to try and use some YouTube tutorials to create an efficient automated sorting system so I can clean out some of the chests and make everything look a little better. I have been RoseGoldSerpent. Like, subscribe and leave a comment to let me know what you thought, and I will catch you later.